The door wasn't locked. I should have locked it. Steam still clung to my skin as I stood in front of the mirror, a towel slung loosely around my waist. My reflection stared back. Messy hair, damp shoulders, a single drop of water trailing down my chest. I exhaled, running a hand through my hair, lost in thought. Then, the door swung open. I spun around, heart lurching. Bruce stood frozen in the doorway, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. Silence. Time slowed. My pulse pounded in my ears as my towel slipped an inch lower. His gaze flickered down, just for a second before he swallowed hard and snapped his head away. Dude, sorry, I didn't know you were, he stammered, his voice hoarse. But he didn't move, and neither did I. Something shifted in the air, thick and electric, a current neither of us had the words to acknowledge. This wasn't just embarrassment. This was something else, something dangerous. It was one of those lazy Sunday afternoons, the kind where time seemed to stretch and yawn, unhurried and warm. Outside, the late summer sun cast golden streaks across my bedroom floor, filtering through half-closed blinds. The soft hum of the ceiling fan filled the silence, a rhythmic whisper against the stillness of the house. I just stepped out of the shower, skin still damp, warmth lingering from the hot water. My muscles ached in a pleasant way, the result of an early morning workout Bruce had dragged me to. I smirked, shaking my head. That guy never ran out of energy. Even after an intense session at the gym, he'd been buzzing, talking about grabbing food later, crashing at my place like he often did. Bruce and I've been best friends for years, inseparable since high school. He was the kind of guy who lit up a room without trying, effortlessly confident, effortlessly charming. Girls adored him. Guys wanted to be him. I had always been the quieter one, the observer, the best friend who listened, who laughed at his dumb jokes, who stood by him no matter what. But lately, something had changed. Or maybe I had changed. I felt it in the way my stomach twisted whenever he smiled at me, in the way I caught myself staring too long when he wasn't looking, in the way my heart reacted when his arms slung over my shoulder, lingering just a second longer than it should. It wasn't supposed to feel this way. I sighed, pushing those thoughts aside. They were dangerous, pointless. I reached for a towel, wrapping it loosely around my waist before stepping toward the mirror. Droplets of water clung to my collarbone, sliding down my chest. My reflection looked back, unreadable. Who are you trying to fool? A sudden creak echoed from outside my room. My breath hitched. The house had been silent a second ago. My parents were out of town, and Bruce, he was supposed to be downstairs. I turned my head slightly, listening. Nothing. Probably just the house settling. Still, a strange unease curled in my stomach. I exhaled, shaking it off, and turned back to the mirror. But just as my fingers reached for my hair, just as I let my guard down, the door burst open. Michael took a step inside. The door clicked shut behind him, sealing us in together. My breath hitched as I tightened the towel around my waist, my mind scrambling to process what was happening. Why is he here? He was supposed to be out. He stood there, frozen, his gaze flickering over me in a way that sent a sharp heat crawling up my spine. His mouth opened slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but no words came out. Seconds stretched unbearably. Michael, I finally croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. He hesitated, dragging a hand through his damp blonde hair. His clothes were slightly wet from the drizzle outside, sticking to his lean frame. I forgot my keys. I blinked. What? Michael's eyes darted toward my desk, where his keyring sat, half buried under some papers. He was telling the truth, but he wasn't moving toward it. He wasn't looking away from me. I felt my skin prickle with awareness under his gaze, my pulse hammering in my throat. There was something different in the way he was staring, something I couldn't quite name. I forced a breath, desperate to break the suffocating silence. You, could have knocked. Michael exhaled, shaking his head slightly, as if he was trying to clear his thoughts. Yeah, I should have. His voice was quieter now, softer, almost as if he wasn't fully present. And still he didn't move. Neither did I. The tension in the room was thick, suffocating. My mind screamed at me to grab my clothes, to turn away, to do something, but I couldn't. Because deep down, a traitorous part of me didn't want to. Michael was my best friend. The guy I'd grown up with, the one who always had my back. The one who had only ever dated girls, who made fun of me for liking sad indie songs, who had never, not once, looked at me the way he was looking at me now. Like he was seeing me for the first time. I swallowed hard, my grip on the towel tightening until my knuckles turned white. Michael, I started again, but the words died in my throat. He took a step closer. My breath stilled. He was close enough now that I could see the way his pupils were blown wide, the way his lips parted slightly, as if he wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. The scent of rain clung to him, mingling with the lingering steam in the air. I wanted to move. I needed to move. But I was trapped in the weight of this moment, in the thick, unbearable tension pressing between us. Then, so quietly I almost didn't hear it, Michael spoke. Why do I feel like you're hiding something from me? The words slammed into my chest, knocking the breath from my lungs. I jerked back instinctively, my heel catching on the edge of the rug. The sudden movement sent a shockwave through my body, snapping me out of whatever trance had taken hold of me. I exhaled sharply, forcing a weak laugh. This is ridiculous. Michael didn't smile. He didn't joke. He just watched me, his gaze unreadable. Is it? His voice sent a shiver through me. My pulse was erratic, my thoughts a tangled mess of confusion, longing, and panic. I had spent years burying this part of myself, convincing myself that whatever I felt for Michael was nothing. A stupid crush. A phase. Something that would pass. But in that moment, with him standing there, his body mere inches from mine, I knew it had never been nothing. And maybe, just maybe, he knew it too. I turned away quickly, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. You should grab your keys. I expected him to listen, to leave. Instead, I felt the ghost of his fingertips brush against my wrist. A barely there touch, hesitant, unsure. My entire body locked up. The air between us was thick with unspoken words, heavy with something we weren't supposed to acknowledge. Michael's fingers twitched, as if debating whether to pull away or press further. I knew what I should do. I should step back, put distance between us. I should laugh it off, pretend this moment never happened. But I didn't. I turned to face him, my breath shallow, my skin burning where he had touched me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes, those damn eyes, held something I had never seen before. Something dangerous. Something that could change everything. Michael's fingers tightened ever so slightly around my wrist, just enough for me to feel the heat of his skin. The air between us pulsed, charged with something neither of us dared to name. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. The steam from my shower still lingered in the air, curling around us like a ghostly presence, thick and suffocating. My towel, barely secure at my waist, suddenly felt flimsy, like a fragile boundary between what was happening and what shouldn't be happening. Michael's breathing was uneven. I could feel it, feel him, close enough that the scent of rain and something unmistakably him filled my senses. He was still damp from the drizzle outside, his shirt clinging to the shape of his torso. But it wasn't just the rain making his skin damp now. A single bead of sweat trailed down his temple, catching in the dim glow of the desk lamp. I wanted to look away. I should have looked away. Instead, my gaze locked onto his lips, parted slightly as if caught mid-thought. He noticed. His breath hitched, barely audible, but I felt it. A jolt of panic shot through me. This was dangerous. This was wrong. But I couldn't ignore the way the air between us felt impossibly thick, the way my body betrayed me, leaning, just slightly, toward his touch instead of away from it. Michael, I rasped, barely recognizing my own voice. His grip on my wrist tightened for a fraction of a second before he pulled away, as if my name had broken some invisible thread. He exhaled sharply and dragged a hand through his already tousled hair, turning away like he needed distance. I saw his chest rise and fall, the tension in his shoulders, the conflict flickering across his face. This was my chance. I could pretend nothing happened. I could grab my clothes, get dressed, let him take his keys, and walk out of here as if this moment never existed. But I didn't move. Neither did he. Instead, he turned back to me, something raw and unfamiliar in his gaze. "Tell me the truth," he murmured. A cold shiver crawled down my spine. "What?" I asked, even though I already knew what he meant. Michael took a slow step forward, closing the space between us again. This time, I couldn't pretend it was unintentional. He was close, too close. I could feel the heat radiating from his body, the tension in his muscles, as if he was battling something inside himself. His hand twitched at his side, like he wanted to reach for me again. But instead, he just stared like he was seeing something he didn't understand. "You've been hiding something," he said quietly. "I've known you for years. I know when you're lying." My heart pounded violently. I wanted to laugh, to brush it off, to say, "What the hell are you talking about?" and end this conversation before it spiraled any further. But I couldn't, because this was it, the moment I'd spent years dreading, the moment I had prayed would never come. Michael wasn't stupid. He had seen the way I looked at him when I thought he wasn't paying attention, the way my voice changed when I said his name, the way I always found some excuse to be near him, even when I knew it was reckless. He had seen it all, and now he was asking. "Michael," I said again, this time more desperate, more broken. His gaze flickered to my lips. It happened so fast, I almost convinced myself I had imagined it. But I hadn't. A sharp breath left my lungs. No, this wasn't happening. I needed to stop this. I needed to run. But then, Michael reached out again. This time, he didn't touch my wrist. His fingers brushed against my bare collarbone, feather-light, hesitant, like he was testing something. I flinched, not because it was unwelcome, but because it was too much, too intense, too real. Michael froze at my reaction, his expression darkening with something I couldn't name. Regret? Realization? For a split second, he looked as shaken as I felt. And then suddenly, violently, he stepped back. The moment shattered. The tension snapped like a rubber band stretched too far. Michael's breathing was ragged now. His hands curled into fists at his sides, as if he was angry. At himself, at me, at whatever the hell had just happened. I shouldn't have. His voice broke off. I swallowed hard. I wanted to say something. Anything. But the words wouldn't come. Michael turned abruptly, grabbing his keys from the desk in one sharp movement. And then, without another word, he walked out. The door slammed shut behind him, leaving me alone, standing half-naked in the middle of the room, my skin still burning where he had touched me. And for the first time in my life, I had no idea what was going to happen next. The room felt colder the second Michael left, like he'd taken all the warmth with him. I stood frozen, staring at the door, the faint echo of the slam still ringing in my ears. My chest rose and fell in shallow, uneven breaths. The towel clung to my damp skin, but I barely noticed. What the hell had just happened? My heart hammered against my ribs, each beat replaying every second of the moment we had shared. His touch, his gaze, the way his breath had hitched when his fingers brushed against my skin. None of it made sense. Michael was straight. He had always been straight. Hadn't he? I staggered toward the bed, sinking onto the mattress as my legs threatened to give out. My mind raced, replaying the way he had looked at me, like he had seen something he wasn't supposed to, like maybe he had wanted it. No. I squeezed my eyes shut, my fingers digging into the sheets. I was imagining things, twisting reality to fit the desperate, shameful fantasies I had buried for years. Michael had probably just been confused, caught up in the weirdness of the moment. He would forget about it by tomorrow. He had to, but deep down I knew better. Something had shifted between us. The tension that had always simmered beneath the surface, the stolen glances, the lingering touches, the way I always seemed to lose my breath when he got too close, had finally cracked open. And now, there was no way to close it again. I sat there for what felt like hours, the storm outside growing heavier. Rain pattered against the window, matching the erratic rhythm of my pulse. The room smelled like rain, sweat, and something unfinished. When I finally moved, it was like I was sleepwalking. I dressed slowly, my fingers clumsy as I pulled on a shirt and boxers. Every sound felt too loud. The creak of the mattress, the rustle of fabric, the steady ticking of the clock. Michael didn't come back that night. He didn't text, didn't call. By the time dawn broke, pale light bleeding through the blinds, the silence between us had stretched into something suffocating. The next day passed in a blur. I went to class, ate lunch alone, pretended everything was fine while my mind replayed those few charged moments over and over. Michael still hadn't come back to the room. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. My stomach churned as I sat at the edge of my bed, phone clutched in my sweaty hand. I stared at his name in my messages. Me. Hey, where are you? I hovered over the screen, thumb shaking. A minute passed. Then two. Nothing. My chest tightened, shame pressing down like a weight. Maybe he was avoiding me. Maybe he was disgusted. Maybe I had ruined everything. I flinched at the sudden sound of the door unlocking. My head snapped up, heart lurching as Michael stepped inside. His hair was damp again, strands clinging to his forehead. He smelled like rain and cigarette smoke, something bitter and unfamiliar. He didn't look at me. Hey, I said quietly. He grunted in response, not meeting my eyes as he tossed his jacket onto the bed. My heart sank. This was worse than him yelling or freaking out. This was nothing. The silence stretched between us, thick and unbearable. I wanted to say something, to explain, to apologize, to beg him to forget what had happened. But every word caught in my throat. Michael moved around the room like I wasn't even there, pulling off his shirt, rifling through his drawers for clean clothes. His face was blank, his shoulders tense. I couldn't take it anymore. About last night, I started, my voice barely above a whisper. He froze. For one agonizing second, he stood completely still, his back to me, his fingers clenched around the edge of the drawer. Then, slowly he turned. His eyes finally met mine. There was no anger in them, no disgust, just something raw, something unsure. My heart pounded in my throat. Say something, please. But he didn't. He just nodded stiffly, grabbed his clothes, and disappeared into the bathroom without another word. The door clicked shut. I sat there, staring at the spot where he had stood, my chest aching with everything we weren't saying. Neither of us knew what to do with what had happened. And somehow, that silence felt louder than anything else. The shower ran for what felt like forever. I sat motionless on my bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the muffled rush of water behind the bathroom door. My thoughts were a tangled mess, flashes of last night mixing with the suffocating tension of tonight. Michael was different. He wasn't avoiding me completely, but he wasn't himself either. Every movement, every glance felt calculated, like he was tiptoeing around something neither of us wanted to name. But it was there. It was always there. The bathroom door creaked open, and my pulse jumped. Michael stepped out, steam curling around him, his damp hair sticking to his forehead. He was wearing sweats, shirtless, a towel slung over his shoulder. His gaze flickered to me, just for a second, before he crossed the room to his bed. He sat at the edge, hands clasped between his knees, his shoulders stiff. Silence thickened between us. I should say something, anything. But what? That I couldn't stop thinking about last night? That I'd felt something shift between us and didn't know how to handle it? That I wasn't sure if he hated me, or if he was just as confused as I was? My throat tightened. Michael exhaled, running a hand through his hair. Look, man, his voice was quiet but rough. A loud buzz cut him off. His phone. He grabbed it from the nightstand, glanced at the screen, and whatever he had been about to say vanished. His jaw tensed. Then, without a word, he stood up, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. I sat up, my stomach twisting. Where are you going? He hesitated, hand on the doorknob. Then out. The word was clipped, distant. Something inside me clenched. Michael. But he was already gone. The door clicked shut, leaving behind a silence, so heavy it was almost suffocating. I sat there, fists curled into the sheets, my chest tight with something I couldn't name. This wasn't over. It wasn't even close to over. And for the first time, I wasn't sure if I wanted to know where it was leading.